David Imoh was a 38-year-old sound engineer, a husband, and a father of 2 children. He often got bookings to perform at different places in and out of Lagos. And whenever he got booked for a gig to perform, he would put together a team of instrumentalists to make up a band that would perform with him. So he had been booked for a gig at Beer Band on Admiralty Way, Lekki, Lagos, where he was to perform with his friends and colleagues, Frank and Phillips. Frank is a saxophonist and Philip is a keyboardist. David had of course scheduled to meet them on Thursday, the 12th of May 2022 at Beer Band, where they were supposed to be performing. My name is Tony Aldenna and welcome to Real Crime Chronicles. If you haven't joined the family yet, please go ahead and hit that subscribe or follow button depending on which platform you're watching on. And also hit that notification bell so you can always get an alert every time we post a new video. So on the day they were supposed to perform at Beer Band, Frank and Philip had taken a bike ride from I'm not sure where to Admiralty Way, and they had agreed with the bike man to pay 400 naira. They had given the bike man 500 naira, but the bike guy said he didn't have 100 naira change. So Frank and Philip insisted on getting the 100 naira, but then they came up with an idea. They told the bike man that they were going to give him 300 naira, so any other time they see him around, they would just give him his balance of 100 naira. They had said this and they took back the 500 and gave the guy the 300. So the bike man may not have understood what they said, or if at all he understood English, he may not have been paying attention, because when they gave him the money and started walking away, the bike man went after them and started pulling one of them, we don't know exactly who, started pulling one of them by his shirt and tore his shirt. But you know, let's pause there for a second. I keep thinking to myself, why in God's name didn't they just leave the bloody 500 naira for the guy? It was just 100 naira. Like, this whole incident that led to David's death was because of 100 naira. I cannot contain the amount of pissed off that I feel. Why didn't they just leave the 100 naira for him? Anyway, back to what we were saying. While the guy was pulling the shirt of one of them and tearing it apart, he kind of impulsively retaliated with a punch. And this punch straight up sent this bike guy to the ground. I mean, this guy passed out immediately. So while this whole thing was going on, there were other bike guys who were, not even part of the conversation, but were watching what was going on. And before you know it, there was already a gathering that was trying to wake up the guy who had passed out, and also asking Frank and Philip to wake the guy up, because these other bike riders who had come to the rescue of the other one who was on the ground had believed that Frank and Philip were connected to an incident that had happened 1 week prior to this particular incident, where a bike man had also dropped off 2, in quote, Yahoo boys. Now, we don't know if these were Yahoo boys or not, but the accusation was that, or the rumor was that this particular bike guy had dropped off 2 Yahoo boys, and immediately after he dropped them, he had slumped and died on the spot. So the association of bike riders had now believed that their colleague was used for money ritual, that the Yahoo boys had used their colleague for money ritual. So when this altercation between Frank and Philip and the bike guy who was on the ground had started, immediately the guy fell. They just straight up believed that it was a similar incident that had happened a week ago. That in fact, it was the same 2 guys that had killed the other guy that was also about to kill this one, or that had killed this one, because the guy's bike rider in question was still on the ground. So immediately they started beating up Frank and Philip, asking them to wake the guy up and all that stuff. So Frank and Philip were trying to explain to them that they were not Yahoo boys, that they had been booked for a performance right there at Beer Band. Now, these bike guys went into Beer Band to confirm the identities of these 2. But unfortunately, for a reason I don't quite understand, or maybe out of fear, Beer Band just refuted that claim. that they didn't know the guys, which caused the situation to blow out of proportion because the bike men now believed that the guys were lying, and now we're certain that these two guys were the same two guys that had killed their colleague 1 week ago. Now, the thing these bike guys don't understand about the rumors they've heard is that a person could die from exhaustion, excessive stress, brain aneurysm, lack of sleep over a period of time, heart attack, heart failure, and a whole lot of similar factors that could kill in an instant. But you know, how do you begin to explain this to a group of people who probably can't even write their own names? Now, David, who was already inside Beer Band, got word that two Yahoo boys who had claimed to also be performing at Beer Band that night were being beaten outside by northern bike riders. So David immediately rushed outside, and when he got there, he tried to explain to the mob that the guys were his people and they were all going to be performing at Beer Band that night. The mob didn't even want to listen. They just pounced on David and started beating him as well. So in the process of beating him, the other bike rider who had slumped began to come to, and he began to regain consciousness. So, you know, all attention kind of spontaneously shifted towards him. And in those few seconds, David quickly escaped from the mob and went to a different corner where he was hiding from them. But unfortunately, someone from the mob spotted him hiding, and they immediately, you know, rushed back to where he was and started dragging him out because they were angered that and he had escaped. That means he was the one who kind of masterminded the whole thing. They immediately started beating him up, you know, so badly. They put a tire over his neck and started to burn him. And it seemed that David had tried to get back into Beer Band, but unfortunately their gate was already closed. They were also probably afraid and didn't want to get involved in anything that had to do with what was going on outside. So David had to look for another corner where he could hide. David's friends, Frank and Phillips, were later found and taken to the hospital after the mob had satisfied themselves by killing an innocent man over 100 naira and over a rumor they had heard, which certainly, most certainly was not even true. This is just a very senseless and extremely annoying death. These kind of things should never happen. 2 children have lost a father and a woman has become a widow over 100 naira. And the fact that this even happened at Lekki Phase 1 on Admiralty Way is even more shocking. The police have been making arrests in the past several days, and we're really hoping that these perpetrators are brought to justice. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all on my next video. Bye.